Yo, what is up, everybody? Chris here from Esports News Expectation. However the flip you know me in these interwebs, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a quick recap of what happened during week 2 of stage 4 of CDL, that being our second to last week of CDL qualifiers before we are just in tournament territory, aka the back half of the season where we have Major 4 champs and then the Esports World Cup in beautiful Paris, France. So, no, that was a mouthful, but there's a lot going on. So, speaking of a lot going on, congratulations to my New York Knickerbockers. You will be seeing some of the parade footage on screen now. So, yeah, shout out to the Knicks. You guys know I have been a Knicks fan for years. The FSN color scheme is even, you know, orange and blue, just like the skies these days. So, yeah. Congrats to my boys. Jalen Brunson, the GOAT. Everybody's better than Jalen Brunson. Still it's time to be better than Jalen Brunson. And speaking of everybody's better than, until it's time to be better than, G2, G2, G2. They said everybody's better than Optic. I'm sorry, better than G2 until it's time to be better than G2 last weekend, evidently. So let's get into it. So G2 took down Optic Texas in a thrilling 3-2 Game 5. I'm not going to go super in-depth with all the Game 5s here just because, you know, some of these videos have been 30 minutes, 40 minutes, etc. And I'm just getting kind of burnt out on making such long videos. So let's make it a little bit more of a Cliff Note thing. So if you guys want to check them out, the highlights are all there. Envoy was actually the standout in this series. He had 108 kills, 102 deaths, 1.06 KD. If you missed the highlights, go through, check them out. Fun series, went all the way to 5, and it was a 6-4 ending for the G2 side. Normally I would go box score like crazy and go map by map, but there were just so many game 5s this weekend, and it's a qualifier weekend. I'm not doing that. So, as you guys can see, the Paris Gentlemen took down Faze Vegas, and you guys can see I thought that Faze would get the dub here with the 3-1. I thought they'd just be a little bit better than the New Look mates, and it actually went all the way down to a round 11 in Game 5 after having a map 1 that was 1 second apart, right? Faze made an insane comeback, 1 second HP. Definitely check this series out if you missed any from the weekend. Now, our last series of Friday, of course, saw our major 3, minor 1 and 2 defending champions, the LA Thieves, the back-to-back-to-back champions in our last 3 tournaments, taking down the Boston Breach team, who's looking much improved, but clearly the LA Thieves are still just a step ahead, as you would expect, right? Series MVP for the winning side was who else but aBeZy. It's been too easy for aBeZy lately. 1.14 KD, 90 kills, 79 deaths. He is absolutely blossoming in the spring like a flower. Then Hydra, his SMG duo, doing the same thing, coming out just like a lotus, right out of the mud. And yeah, I mean, on the Boston Breach side, you had Spark having a great series along with Afro. So the two guys that you would expect to be the standouts stood out. And then Purge and Tej, you know, they were lagging a little bit behind, but they pushed it 5, so Boston's looking better overall. 250 to 200 was the opening scoreline, 6-2, 5-3 is where the Boston Breach tried to bring it back on the double gridlocks. Then the Game 5 raid, LA Thieves were able to close out very, very decisively with the 6-2. So, speaking of people who close things out decisively, the Boston Breach were able to take that momentum in a close series with the defending Major 3 champs and say, hey, no Joe Deceives, big problem for you guys. Handed them a fat L behind 1.14 from Afro. 107 kills, 94 deaths. He had a phenomenal series. Sorry if you guys hear any background noise. That's just my window unit for, you know, my AC unit. Just cooling my room down. It's mad cold in here. So yeah, 17-point hard point, round 11 SMD, 1-point overload game, and a 31-point hard point game. If you guys missed this, please be sure to go check out the highlights on the channel. Same place as always, but if you guys don't know, it's the same channel that you're currently watching on, FSN Chris on YouTube. That is Lay channel. Got to go back and put some highlights, some thumbnails on all of the highlights from last weekend. I got behind. You guys know my room was kind of hot last week, so just had to kind of handle personal business and not focus as much on the stream side of things. But I'm back this week and everything's a lot better now. So, speaking of everything being a lot better now, the Royal Ravens were able to take down Optic Texas in a surprising Game 5. Optic Texas, their chain is on a greasy neck tour for the ages right now. We thought that after Major 3, they would get back, they would be dominant against everybody else in the Stage 4 qualifier, but the blemishes are really starting to show after a Game 5 loss to a G2 side who no one really expected to be better than Optic, and then losing to the Carolina Royal Ravens, who certainly no one was expecting to be better than Optic, excuse me. So looking at it, Lurks went absolutely crazy. 107 kills, 85 deaths. He had one of the series of his life. So hats off to him. Everybody else on the team got like tucked. Minus 11, minus 10, excuse me, minus 22 from Sandy. Sorry, I just had to gather my sneeze before it came out. 251-47 for Optic. Round 11 in the game 2. Ravens were able to win the Den Overload 4-3. Then Optic was able to take the Sake hardpoint by a 43-point margin. Ravens were able to force around 11, and yeah, I mean, the rest is history. Lurks 15-7. He went nuts in the game 5. And then Mercules on the other side, 13-9. So it was a battle of the Young Guns, and the Royal Ravens came out on top. If you guys missed the round 11 here, be sure to check it out on the channel. I just don't want to go super far in depth. As you guys can see, it was majority game 5s on the weekend. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 game 5s out of 11 total matches played on the weekend. So not trying to be here for 30 to an hour like I have been so many times over the last couple of weeks. Just not necessary. Speaking of not necessary, Faze playing the Miami Heretics seems to be not necessary because the outcome for the last, I want to say 10 attempts has been the same for Faze when they go up against this Miami team. Real, no Real, it's all too Real for them. It's always a fat, fat, fat L when they go up against this Miami team. Not sure why Miami owns them so decisively, but they just do. I mean, they clearly own this matchup. Rancor 1.3 on him, 78 kills, 60 deaths. He was going absolutely ballistic. Super 69-61, so the ARs were doing their thing. 77 and 70 from Real, the man of the the moment, right? I mean, the guy who famously left Miami for their rival Toronto Koi came back as a prodigal son. Real's been doing his thing, you know. 251-49 in the map 1 on the Sake hardpoint. Faze's Sake is not looked good, so this is a very, very savvy veto from the Heretics. Raid S&D, a map that Faze is typically pretty comfortable and pretty good on. Definitely went the way of the Miami Heretics, and this was just really a game changer for the series. Just proving, hey, we are the better team here. Sign, seal, deliver it, whatever. You know? 7-1 was a gridlock scoreline in this gridlock overload. Of course, Super went nuts, 22 and 15, but Faze, they had a very even effort across the board. This is the only map where they looked really comparable to Miami. And then in the game 4, gritty hardpoint, we ran it back on another gridlock. And of course, Faze got absolutely bodied by a 45-point margin here. Booza tried to keep him in it, but yeah, I mean, you have 0-4 going minus 11, Simp minus 7, draws minus 4. It's going to be a tough time on a map like Gridlock where there's so few engagements. Now, speaking of there being few engagements, G2 Minnesota, they had a lot of engagements in this series, but they were not able to topple the top dog like they did in the Optic series. So G2, they had their toughest weekend of the split, probably of the season, right, in terms of just back-to-back difficulty of schedule matches, right? And, you know, they took him to the brink. So looking at it, Skies was a standout from the G2 side. He is the MVP for their side. And then the LA Thieves, of course, he had Scrap, 105 kills, 98 deaths, best overall KD. And yeah, I mean, he looked great, as did his duo Hydra, 109 kills, 102 deaths, and Abizi, 93 and 88. Neum was minus 22, I guess, but, you know, not really a big deal when your teammates do their thing. Decided to take a swig of some water. Looking at the map 1, Neum came out 30 and 24. He came out swinging, looked really good. G2 Minnesota was able to regain momentum in the series, winning the S&D 6-4 on Fringe. And then they chained that momentum into a 6-5 win on Gridlock Overload, which was an overtime win. So if you missed that one, be sure to go check out the overtime. It was really, really cool. LA Thieves scored with a minute to go, and G2 scored with about 30-something seconds. So fun overload. Speaking of fun matches, we of course had this Scar hardpoint going with LA Thieves. Very close one, came down to the wire, but the Thieves were able to take it in the end. And speaking of taking it in the end, when it came down to the wire, Thieves looked pretty good in this S&D on Hasi. I mean, they just looked pretty dominant throughout the whole game, and yeah, I mean, they consequently took it, right? Speaking of people who looked pretty dominant throughout the whole game, that's not the scenario here in this C9 versus Koi series. C9 took them to the brink. They could have won this series. They should have won this series. I mean, they went up in the game 5 and then they choked a big lead. So yeah, let's get into it. So Insight was the standout for the Koi side. Quite surprising, but if you need anyone to step up at this moment in time with no Joe Deceives, it's definitely Insight. Happy to see that he did his thing and Koi won as a result. Kips 90 and 76, Kleenex 92 and 89, and on the other side, Webby, only player from C9 to go positive, but the other guys went slightly negative for the most part, and then you had Encourage going neg 21, so I don't know. Looking at the map one, it was 250-223 in favor of the Toronto Koi side, where Kleenex dropped 31 and 21 for the dub, so yeah, that checks out. Game 2, Den S&D, we ran it back on Den again, and the C9 boys showed their S&D prowess here, winning a close round 11 S&D behind 7 and 6 from Webby and 9 and 8 from Hyde. Game 3 went the way of the C9 boys, showing their objective efficiency is absolutely at its peak right now in the season. They won this one 3-2 behind 24 and 22 from their new superstar, Mr. Webby. Map 4 went the way of the Toronto Koi Gridlock HP, Insight 25 and 20 for the dub. And on the other side, 24 and 23 from Webby, the young superstar, in that almost 100-point beatdown, right? Then in the Gridlock S&D Game 5, Insight dropped 9 and 5 for the dub. The captain of the team, the leader of the team at this point, took over. He's had a lot of flack, a lot of, you know, just narrative spread on his name. And yeah, he signed, sealed, and delivered this W. So happy to see Insight doing better. And yeah, that was an amazing series. If you missed the highlights, be sure to check them out on the channel. Speaking of another series that was actually more fun than it may seem, this 3-0 for the Paris Mates was actually a little bit more exciting than it may look just from the box score. If you go through and watch the series, it was a pretty fun one. A lot of exciting moments. Go see with the Euro step cheese. I mean, it was just a fun series, right? So 3-0, as you guys can see, Estral was standout 62 and 44, Joe Deceive 67 and 50, and yeah, I mean, just dominance from the Mates. On the other side, Mamba, he had a good series, 55 and 47 for the Surge, so it's looking like Mamba's typically their best player with this new Surge roster. So, speaking of this new Surge roster, they got dumpstered 250 to 149 by Joe and Estriel on this Mates team. Very even effort from all the Mates players. Nobody went like super positive or overwhelmingly positive. It was just a pretty even effort across the board. Map 2 S&D, this is where a record was broken, not an even effort across the board. Joe Deceives was doing everything, 18 and 4 on the map. I mean, he set the S&D record with 18 kills. So, yeah, just insane overperformance from Joe. Speaking of overperformances, you had Estral dropping 33 and 17 in a 7-0 overload where the first half was cut short because the Paris Mates were able to score 4 goals with about a minute to go. So imagine if this game went a little bit deeper, Estral might have even dropped 40. So yeah, insane showing from the mates. We finally got to see a little bit of their potential, flex their muscles a little bit, and you know what? An egg just absolutely shattered and spilled all over the place. So, speaking of egg shattering and spilling all over the place because of the brolic nature of the biceps when flexed, Celium, the flex on this team, maybe. Pretty sure he's a main AR. 87 kills, 69 deaths, 1.26 KD, and everyone on his team, with the exception of Exton, who was, 2 kills in the red, went positive. So, great showing from the Falcons. On the Carolina Royal Ravens side, nothing to be too embarrassed about, but another minus 20 plus from Sandy is definitely not a great look for the newest addition to this team. Minus 22 in the last series, and then in this series, minus 24. Not the best look, right? Speaking of the best look, we had the Riyadh Falcons with one of their best looks on the season, Sake HP, going their way to the surprise of really no one, 250 to 200, behind 27 and 17 from Celium, and 29 and 21 from Pred. Looking at the map too, of course, this was 6-2 in favor of the Bluebirds. They took this Hossie behind 9 and 4 from Stanley and 9 and 5 from Fire 40, one of their more recent pickups on this team. In the map 3, the Gridlock Overload, this was a real surprise, map for the Ravens. They were able to take this one 5-2. It was really dominant for them. They looked really good. They just kept running them in. I believe, 4-0'd them in the first half. And then Riyadh were able to put 2 in like the last 3 minutes to kind of make the final scoreboard not look so bad. But yeah, I mean, they had nothing for them on this map. Lurks was 23-16, 21-16 from Exceed, 21-18 from Fire. Yeah, I mean, they absolutely had nothing for him. Speaking of having nothing for him, the Royal Ravens had absolutely nothing for the Falcons in map 4 on Colossus HP. Pred dropped 30-19, 31-21 from his duo Cell. And yeah, I mean, everybody on the Falcons went positive. That's going to be a tough one to overcome. Speaking of tough ones to overcome, the Royal Ravens were not able to overcome the Game 5 Falcons, led by Celium, dropping 9-5, along with the Bulldog, dropping 7-5 for the dub. So yeah, I mean, Falcons were able to take things in a in a very decisive fashion. And yeah, I mean, we had a couple of interesting outcomes on the weekend. G2 versus LA Thieves Game 5 was interesting, but went the way you expect. LA Thieves dub. Faze versus Heretics went the way you'd expect. Ravens upsetting Optic was quite interesting. Boston beating Koi was very interesting as well. G2 toppling Optic was interesting. Faze beating Mates was also interesting considering how good Mates ended up looking. Thieves beating Breach, not surprising. Koi being taken to Game 5, Round 11 by C9 was very surprising. 3-0 from Gelmates, not that surprising, but I thought it'd be a little bit deeper with the new team. And then Game 5 with the Riyadh Falcons versus Ravens was certainly a surprise. Ravens are certainly on the come up as are G2, so teams to keep an eye on as well as Boston Breach. Koi, slight decline. Faze, definite decline. Optic, slight decline from the looks of it. So yeah, we have a few things to keep an eye on, but yeah, that'll also wrap it up for me, guys. I wanted to give you guys a summary of who did well, who didn't. I never do that in these videos, and I feel like kind of bringing things full circle is important, right? So yeah, hope you guys have a great morning, noon, or night. Nixon 5. I feel so alive today. And yeah, I will catch you guys on the next one, which will be a preview of what to expect going into this week's matches if you're looking for that. So yeah, hope you guys have a great morning, noon, or night, wherever you may be on this beautiful planet. Thanks for all the love and support on the channel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share it with someone who you think might like this content niche if you are brand new to the channel and they are as well. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Once again, this is Big Source News Expectation. However, let me know in these interwebs, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.